It all started with a crazy bet that nobody saw coming. Jimmy Kimmel had been poking at Trump for months on the show, and during one heated phone call, Trump threw down a challenge. "Come on, Jimmy. If you're so tough, have me on live and ask whatever you want, but no cheap shots about my family. Deal?" Kimmel smiled on the other end and said yes, but both men knew the rules might bend. Trump figured it was a safe win. He was the president, after all, and late-night hosts usually played it light. He walked into this thinking his personal life, especially anything about Ivana, was off limits. The lights in the ABC studio that night in Los Angeles were blindingly bright, the kind that made everything look sharper and more intense than real life. The audience packed into the seats was buzzing with nervous energy, some cheering, some whispering, phones already out and recording. Cameras rolled, the band hit a quick intro, and then the announcer called it, "Please welcome the President of the United States, Donald Trump." Trump strode out with that signature swagger, shoulders back, chin up, flashing the big grin and waving like he owned the place. The audience cheered loud, some booed, but the energy was off the charts. He shook Kimmel's hand firm, sat down in the chair, and leaned back like this was just another easy interview. Kimmel started off easy, keeping his voice calm and casual, like two guys chatting over coffee. "Mr. President, a lot of folks out there say they're missing the steady leadership from before. They wonder if the promises from your campaign are really hitting home for everyday Americans struggling right now." It sounded harmless enough on the surface, just politics talk. But Trump didn't waste a second. His face tightened up fast, and he jumped right in, voice sharp and loud. "Jimmy, let me tell you something. The people before me destroyed this country. Borders wide open, deals that screwed us blind, everything falling apart. I came in and fixed it. I saved it, and you're sitting here acting like you don't know that?" He pointed his finger straight at Kimmel, jabbing the air for emphasis. The crowd reacted instantly. Some gasps, some claps, a few laughs. Trump's words came flying out fast and hard, like he was firing shots across the desk. The energy shifted in a heartbeat. Kimmel just sat there, nodding slightly, not cutting him off. That calm vibe only made Trump push harder. He kept going, listing every win he could think of, his hands chopping through the air. "Nobody else could have done what I did. They were weak. I was strong." The studio felt smaller, the air thicker. People in the audience were glued to their seats, hearts pounding. Then Trump really leaned into it. He straightened up in the chair, chest out, and declared loud and clear, "I saved this nation. Without me, we'd be in ruins right now. Everybody knows it." His face was turning red, eyes locked on Kimmel like he was daring him to push back. The crowd went quiet for a split second, that heavy kind of silence where you can hear the hum of the lights. Kimmel didn't say a word right away. He just sat back, eyebrows raised a tiny bit, and let Trump keep rolling. No interruption, no comeback. Just silence. Then Kimmel leaned forward a little, still keeping that easy tone like nothing heavy was happening. "Mr. President, you've talked a lot about your legacy tonight, but people keep bringing up your personal life too. How do you think history will remember the man behind all those big wins?" It sounded smooth, almost respectful, like he was just tying the political stuff to the human side. Trump nodded at first, ready to roll with it, but you could see his shoulders tense up. The crowd picked up on the shift right away. The room got quieter, like everyone knew the conversation was about to turn a corner. Then Kimmel dropped it, calm as ever. "Donald, how did Ivana die?" The words hit like a slap. Trump froze for a split second, his face going bright red from the neck up. His eyes widened, and then the explosion came. "What the hell is this?" he barked, voice loud and sharp. "Google it yourself. I got no time for this nonsense." He slammed his hand on the desk, the sound cracking through the studio. The audience gasped loud. Some people actually jumped in their seats. Trump's breathing got heavier, his jaw locked tight. You could see the shock turning into pure anger in real time. This wasn't the question he expected, not even close. Trump wasn't done fighting back. He pointed straight at Kimmel again, fingers shaking with rage. "You're part of the old guard, Jimmy. Same crooked team that tried to take me down before. They couldn't beat me at the ballot box, so now you're digging up old dirt on live TV? Pathetic." His voice rose higher, words coming fast and furious. He started listing his wins again, trying to steer everything back to safe ground. "I built the strongest economy this country ever saw. I fixed the borders. I made America respected again. And you want to talk about my ex-wife? This is why nobody trusts the media." He kept pounding the desk lightly with his fist for emphasis, face still flushed, eyes locked on Kimmel like he could win the argument by sheer volume. The tension in the studio was thick enough to cut with a knife. The crowd was dead silent one moment, then murmuring the next. Phones were out everywhere, people recording every second. Trump was breathing hard, clearly trying to take control of the room again. He kept repeating his greatest hits, the deals, the rallies, the fake news attacks, anything to push the Ivana question away. But Kimmel just sat there letting him vent, which only made Trump angrier. Then it happened. Trump suddenly pushed his chair back and stood up fast, like he was about to walk off the stage. "I'm not sitting here for this garbage," he shouted, already turning toward the exit. The audience erupted. Some boos, some shocked gasps. Security guys near the wings tensed up. For a second, it looked like the whole interview was over before it really started. But Kimmel stayed ice cool. He didn't raise his voice. He just said clearly, "Mr. President, you still haven't answered the question." Trump stopped dead in his tracks, halfway off the stage. He spun around, face twisted with fury, and marched right back toward the desk. Now the two men were practically nose to nose across the small space. Trump leaned in close, eyes blazing. "You think you can trap me like this on your little show?" he growled, voice low and dangerous. Kimmel didn't flinch, didn't back up an inch. The studio went completely silent again. You could hear every breath. This was the first real physical standoff. Two powerful men staring each other down under the bright lights, the crowd frozen, waiting to see if it would explode even more. Trump's chest was heaving. He jabbed his finger one more time, inches from Kimmel's face. This is a disgrace, a total witch hunt. But he sat back down slowly, still fuming, the anger rolling off him in waves. Kimmel didn't waste any time. He gave a small nod and pointed to the big screen behind him. "Let's look at the timeline, Mr. President." The lights dimmed just a bit as the calendar popped up huge. There it was. Ivana's death date circled in bright red, sitting right before a major deposition in one of Trump's old legal cases. The dates lined up perfectly, impossible to miss. The studio went dead quiet. People leaned forward, squinting at the screen like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Trump stared at it for a second, then his face twisted. "What is this supposed to prove?" he snapped, voice already rising. "Timing means nothing. Coincidence." But his hands gripped the arms of the chair tighter. The red circle seemed to stare back at everyone, making the whole room feel heavier. Without missing a beat, Kimmel clicked to the next image. A detailed CGI rendering filled the screen. Ivana's New York townhouse, the famous spiral staircase, zoomed in close. The railing looked loose, wobbly in the animation. A thick rug sat crooked at the top step, the kind that could easily slide under someone's foot. The visuals were sharp and cold. You could almost feel how easy it would be to lose balance there. Trump exploded. "This is fake news," he roared, slamming his fist on the desk so hard the microphone jumped. "You're showing cartoons now? This is a joke." His face turned deep red, veins popping on his forehead. The crowd gasped loud. Some people covered their mouths. Trump kept shouting, "You made this up to smear me! Hollywood garbage!" He pointed angrily at the screen, his whole body shaking with rage. Kimmel stayed calm and switched the screen again. This time it showed security camera footage, or rather, the lack of it. Black screens. These cameras outside the staircase area went completely dark exactly during the time Ivana fell, he said flatly. Every single one. No recording. Nothing. Trump shot up halfway out of his chair. Who gave you this? Tell me the source right now. He lunged forward and actually grabbed the microphone on the desk, yanking it toward himself. This is illegal. You're hacking or paying people off. His voice cracked with fury. The audience was buzzing now, whispers turning into shocked murmurs. Security shifted nervously near the stage. Trump's knuckles went white around the mic as he demanded answers, eyes wild. Kimmel didn't back down. Instead, he reached under the desk and pulled out a bottle of wine. Dark glass, elegant label, clearly from Trump's own vineyard. He held it up so the cameras could get a good shot. This is one of your wines, Mr. President. A slow-acting substance in something like this could make a person dizzy, unsteady on their feet, especially on tricky stairs like those. The studio erupted. Trump lost it completely. He slammed both hands down on the desk with a loud bang that echoed through the room. You're accusing me of murder on live TV, he screamed, voice raw and furious. This is insane. You're a sick man, Jimmy. The crowd went wild. Gasps, shouts, some people actually screaming in shock. Phones flew up everywhere. Trump's face was purple now, chest heaving, spit flying as he yelled. He stood fully up, pointing at Kimmel with one hand while still gripping the mic in the other. This is the lowest smear I've ever seen. You'll pay for this. Kimmel set the bottle down slowly, never raising his voice. The contrast made everything feel even more intense. Trump kept raging, repeating, murder, murder, over and over, his words tumbling out faster and louder. The whole studio felt like it was on the edge of chaos. Audience members were half standing in their seats, eyes wide, some cheering, some booing. The tension was electric. Kimmel didn't let the shouting die down. He raised his hand slightly and the big screen lit up again. Let's talk money, Mr. President. Leaked documents flashed across the monitor. Bank transfers, property records, and legal notes all highlighted in yellow. The numbers were huge. Trump had inherited massive assets from Ivana's estate right after she died, and the papers showed how the death had quietly killed off a nasty divorce lawsuit that could have cost him tens of millions. These documents show you gained over $40 million in real estate and cash because the case never went to court, Kimmel said plainly. That's a pretty big benefit, don't you think? The studio went silent for half a second, then erupted in murmurs. Trump's eyes locked on the screen, his mouth opening and closing before he found his voice. Those are fake, totally fabricated, he yelled, but his face had gone pale under the red flush. The audience could see the dates and signatures clear as day. It wasn't just timing anymore. It was cold, hard cash. Trump wasn't about to sit there and take it. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, waving it like a flag. Here's the real story, he shouted, holding it up to the cameras. This email from Ivana herself, dated 2 weeks before she died. She said everything was fine between us and she had no plans to fight me in court. Read it and shut up. He thrust the paper toward Kimmel, his hand shaking with anger. Kimmel took one look, then shook his head slowly. Mr. President, that email was altered. The original metadata shows it was edited 3 days after Ivana's death. The font doesn't even match the rest of her messages from that time. He clicked a button and side-by-side comparisons popped up on the screen. Original timestamps versus the version Trump was waving. The differences were obvious, changed sentences, added lines that made Ivana sound friendly. The crowd let out a loud collective, "Oh!" Trump's evidence had just blown up in his face. "You're lying!" Trump screamed, his voice cracking as he jabbed his finger hard toward Kimmel. This is a setup. You and your fake experts cooked this up. He shoved his chair back so violently it almost tipped over and lunged toward the desk again, reaching for the microphone for the second time that night. Give me that mic. I'm ending this right now. His face was inches from Kimmel's, eyes wild with fury. Two security guys stepped forward quickly from the side of the stage, not grabbing him, but positioning themselves close enough to block any real move. The tension was insane. You could feel the whole room holding its breath, waiting to see if Trump would actually swing or charge across the desk. For a split second, everything froze. Trump's chest heaved, his finger still pointed like a gun. Kimmel sat perfectly still, not blinking, not moving back. The security men stayed quiet but ready. The audience was on the edge of their seats, some whispering, "Holy shit," others just staring wide-eyed. It was the most physical standoff yet, pure rage versus ice-cold calm, with the bright studio lights making every drop of sweat visible. Then, in the middle of the chaos, Trump's voice suddenly dropped for just a moment. You don't know what it was like, the constant fighting, the pressure at home on top of running the country. The words slipped out raw, almost tired, like the anger had cracked open something real for half a second. His shoulders sagged just a little. The audience gasped softly. This was the first glimpse of something human behind the fury, but he caught himself fast. Trump straightened up like he'd been burned, eyes flashing with fresh rage. "None of that matters. This is all lies," he roared, shoving the edited email paper onto the desk so hard it slid off the other side. He glared at Kimmel, breathing heavy. The brief crack in his armor slammed shut again. "You're trying to destroy me, but it won't work. I'm Donald Trump. I fight back." The studio was buzzing louder now. People were shifting, whispering, some even standing up a bit. The leaked money trail, the busted fake email, the near fight with security right there on stage. It all piled on top of the calendar, the stairs, and the wine bottle from before. Trump stood there fuming, security hovering close while Kimmel stayed seated and composed. Trump sat back down slowly, still glaring daggers. Kimmel kept his cool and clicked the remote again. "Mr. President, there's someone who was there that night. Let's hear from her." The big screen switched to a live video feed. An older woman appeared, Ivana's former housekeeper, sitting in a plain room with a serious look on her face. She spoke clearly, her voice a little shaky but steady. "I was working late that evening. I heard loud arguing from upstairs. Mr. Trump's voice was very angry. Then I heard furniture moving, like someone was pushing or struggling near the stairs. 10 minutes later, the fall happened. It didn't sound like an accident to me." The studio went completely silent. You could hear people sucking in their breath. The housekeeper looked straight into the camera, her eyes tired but honest. "I never said anything before because I was scared, but it's time." Trump shot forward in his chair like he'd been electrocuted. "She's a liar," he bellowed, face twisted with rage. "A paid liar by the Democrats. They gave her money to make up stories. This is a total witch hunt." He pointed at the screen, his hand shaking. "She worked for us for years, and now she's turning on me. Fake news. Disgusting." Kimmel didn't raise his voice. He turned to the screen and spoke directly to the woman. "Ma'am, did anyone pay you to say this today?" The housekeeper shook her head firmly. "No, sir. I came forward because my conscience won't let me stay quiet anymore. I heard what I heard." Trump slammed his fist on the desk again. "She's lying. Cut the feed. This is rigged." But the video stayed on, and the woman's calm answers only made Trump look more unhinged. Before Trump could keep shouting, Kimmel raised his hand. "There's one more thing." He pressed play on the audio. A crackly recording filled the studio. Ivana's voice recorded just days before she died. She sounded scared, breathing fast. "Donald keeps pushing me about the divorce. He says if I don't sign, things will get ugly. I'm nervous about the stairs lately. The railing feels loose, and he knows I've been dizzy. I don't feel safe in my own house anymore. Her voice cracked on the last words. If something happens to me, it won't be an accident. The entire audience froze. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few people whispered, "Oh my God." Ivana's frightened tone hung in the air like smoke, raw and real. The disputed pre-death audio played clearly. No music, no edits, just her voice talking about the exact staircase and the pressure from Trump. Trump exploded like a bomb going off. He jumped up so fast his chair flew backward. "This is all fabricated," he screamed at the top of his lungs. "Fake. Totally fake audio. You deep-faked her voice." He grabbed the microphone hard and slammed it down on the desk with a loud crack that echoed through the studio. The sound was so violent some people in the front rows jumped. "You're playing games with my dead wife's voice, you sick bastard!" His face was purple, eyes bulging with pure fury. He took 2 steps toward the edge of the stage like he was about to storm off for the 3rd time that night. "I'm done with this circus. I'm leaving." The audience erupted, some cheering wildly, others booing, a wave of shouts rolling through the room. Security moved in closer again, hands ready but not touching him yet. Trump stood at the edge, breathing like a bull, fists clenched so tight his knuckles were white. The combination of the Housekeeper story, Ivana's terrified voice still echoing faintly from the speakers, and Trump's total meltdown created the strongest emotional explosion of the night so far. Kimmel stayed seated, voice still calm. "Mr. President, the audio has been verified by 3 independent labs." But Trump wasn't listening. He spun around, pointing back at Kimmel one last time. "You'll regret this. All of you." His voice cracked with raw anger and something that sounded almost like pain. Kimmel waited until the shouting died down just enough. The studio was still buzzing from the audio bomb. He leaned forward slightly, lowered his voice, and said it calm and steady. "You won't believe me, Donald, but Ivana will tell you herself." The words dropped like a hammer. The entire room went dead silent. Trump's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. "What the hell does that mean?" he growled, but there was a crack in his voice now. Kimmel didn't smile. He simply clicked the remote one last time. A sealed document appeared on the giant screen. Ivana's final statement, notarized and locked away until after her death. Next to it, every piece of evidence from the night lined up in a clear timeline. The red circled calendar date, the loose railing on the CGI stairs, the blacked out cameras, the wine bottle, the leaked financial transfers worth millions, the edited email, the housekeeper's testimony, and the frightened pre-death audio. At the bottom, Ivana's own signed words were highlighted in bold. "If anything happens to me on those stairs, it will not be an accident. Donald has too much to gain and too much anger to lose. I fear for my life." The screen held there cold and undeniable. All the threads from the entire interview snapped together in one brutal picture. Trump completely lost it. His face drained of color for a split second, then flooded deep red. His hands started shaking. No, this is bullshit." His voice came out hoarse and cracking, not the usual boom. His eyes were bloodshot, wide and wild. "You faked the whole thing. All of it." He stood up so fast the chair crashed behind him. For the first time all night, he looked truly out of control, chest heaving, mouth opening and closing, no smooth comeback left. The raw panic mixed with fury made his whole body tremble. "This is a lie. She never wrote that." The audience was frozen. Some people had their hands over their mouths. Others whispered in shock. The tension was so thick it felt like the air itself had stopped moving. Trump lunged forward and snatched the microphone off the desk with one violent grab. "This is all fabricated," he screamed at the top of his lungs, voice breaking. He raised the mic high and slammed it down onto the stage floor with everything he had. The loud crack exploded through the speakers and echoed across the studio. "I'm done. This is a disgrace." He spun around fast, turning his back on Kimmel and the audience. The crowd erupted. Half the room exploded in loud boos and shouts. The other half sat in stunned silence. Trump stormed toward the exit, shoes pounding the stage, shoulders rigid with rage. The bright lights followed him as he marched off, leaving chaos in his wake. But right at the edge of the stage, just before he disappeared into the wings, Trump stopped dead for 1 second. He turned his head slowly and looked back over his shoulder. His eyes locked straight on Kimmel, pure, burning hatred, red and furious, like he wanted to burn the whole place down with that single glare. No words, just that final, deadly stare. Then he was gone. The studio lights stayed bright. The big screen still glowed with Ivana's statement, and all the evidence lined up like a verdict. The audience sat there, hearts pounding, the air so tight it felt like a rubber band stretched to its limit, ready to snap at any second. No one moved. No one spoke. The silence was deafening. The night had ended exactly the way it had exploded. Raw, brutal, and unforgettable.